Come here. All right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Can someone type something in the chat box to let me know if you can actually hear me? All right, very good. Thanks, Daisy. So, welcome, good morning, and welcome to this YouTube live streaming event. There may be a couple of you out there attending that you don't know me, so specifically for my online students. So, I'm your professor, Professor Guillette, and I'd like to welcome you to this YouTube live event. Today's event is about myself and my husband, who will come here in just a moment and sit down next to me. And it's an opportunity to kind of get our thoughts off of all the bad things that are going on today. Kind of distract us for about an hour. So,
where am I supposed to sit?
Right here next to me. So, everyone.
Hello, how are you?
This is my husband, Spencer. There you go. And so you should see the chat box over on the right-hand side, and feel free to put down anything that ask any questions that you'd like to ask us. Of course, within reason, we have the right to refuse to answer any questions, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. We're going to be pretty open in answering any questions that you might have about us. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit the like button and all the other things that you're supposed to do, like hitting the bell, and you can know when I'm doing and uploading future events. So I think you kind of have an idea of what we're going to do now. So feel free to start asking questions to both of us, either of us, and we will answer those questions for you. And so Naomi has a question here. How have you guys been doing? We've been doing pretty good. So my husband is an attorney, and we arrived back home from Portugal. It will be 2 weeks on Saturday. We were over in Portugal and Morocco, and we were lucky enough to get home without any significant issues or problems. But his law firm asked him to quarantine himself for 2 weeks. So he's been working here at home along with myself. And so I think things have been going pretty well. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right.
That was kind of a yes or no kind of question.
All right. And Kayla says loving the beard. So thank you.
I don't love the beard.
I
think the beard should be going.
It probably will.
As he promised when he came back from Portugal, which was almost, what?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
So it probably will be going, but for now I'm being lazy and letting it stay. So, all right. Let's see here. What was your most memorable trip together? So our most memorable trip together was to Portugal and Morocco 2 weeks ago. We were fortunate because Spencer's sister Joy, who doesn't live too far from us, she was able to join us. So she joined us in Portugal. We were there for 5 days or so, and we had a good time with her. I always have a good time with the family when we can get together with his family. And then she came back home, and the two of us went on to Morocco. So we had a good time. I did post some pictures of our event and our travel on my faculty website. So check that out if you haven't already done so. And
I like that. Grow it like Castaway.
What's that? Which one are you reading?
I'm reading
How was it?
Marissa Hammond. Is that what it is?
Oh, Keep the Beard?
Yeah.
Grow it out like Castaway. Oh, okay. Maybe like what are the guys on television?
No. You're not gonna do Duck Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty, yes, my heroes.
Yeah.
But Portugal was wonderful. We had a great time. We stayed in Lisbon and kind of made that the point that we kind of went out and visited different places. We went to Porto, we went to Fatima, we went to Sintra. So it's a really pretty country.
People are very laid back. They're very friendly, and they're very accommodating. And People didn't seem to be worried about the coronavirus, but maybe because I guess Spain wasn't doing anything either. Spain was their next door neighbor, basically. They've had a long history with Spain. And so I think they were just saying, you know, we're not worried about it so much. But if you turn on the news, you saw the government talking about it. So,
And there were only a couple cases. I think 3 cases in Morocco and just a few in Portugal when we were there, but I think that's changed a lot since we've come home.
yeah, I don't think they're having as many problems as Spain is right now, though.
Let's see. Will the virus go away anytime soon? I don't know. Uh, this is certainly very odd, very strange. There's no question about it. This is the most bizarre event that I've ever lived through. Um, Certainly, there's a lot of negativity going around. I would highly encourage all of you to consider not watching the news. It's good to be informed about what's going on, but you don't want to become overloaded with this information. It's just too much, it's too negative. Be aware of what's going on, but turn it off um, and try to take your time and put it towards something that will be productive. Challenge yourself, do something new, do something exciting. As long as you've done everything you can to protect yourself and your loved ones, then there's nothing more that we can do. And to be very negative and to just bring all these negative thoughts into our thinking, it just brings us down, gets us depressed, we have anxiety, and it doesn't do any of us any good. So try to turn that attention towards something positive, even though this is a pretty bad situation. Eventually, things will turn around. When? I don't know. I think I told some of my students that I was going on a storm chasing trip in the month of May, and unfortunately, I received an email this morning from the tour organizer saying that it had to be postponed. And I'm very disappointed about that, but you know, um, or do it next year. And so we have to keep going forward and make the best of the situation that we can.
Yeah, I think for us, we're just doing things that we normally would have done if we had the time to do it. I think the last few days, Mark has been out in the yard doing a lot of yard work and leaving me alone while I work from home. And he's actually, when he's done with the yard work, he's going through all the classic movies on Disney Plus and grading them um, without me soliciting it. His reviews, right?
Mhm.
So he doesn't like Tron, doesn't like classic Cinderella, doesn't like classic Snow White. I think he liked Pinocchio.
I like the ones that have, to me, deep meaning, like Pinocchio, or the newer ones like Up or The Lion King, or any of those that have a deep meaning and challenges us to be better people, to be all that we can be. And so,
So it is a very stressful time. So we try to, acknowledge it's stressful, it's anxious, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of people being affected. Some people are staying at home, losing their jobs. So it's pretty stressful on everybody. And if you're working at a job like in an airport, like I think someone said their dad works in the airport.
mhm.
Um, if your family member works at hospital um, or is a first responder, it's pretty stressful for the family. Um, all you can do is take it day by day. We don't watch actually any news. I think we just read the news online and from sources that I think will be fair. But we take it with it. We read a lot of the different sources, so we're getting different input, and everything is changing. So I think last night they were expecting the stimulus bill to pass. I don't think it's passed yet. So
I think the House is voting on it today.
today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's so complicated. I think the coronavirus is going to go away? I think it'll be managed at some point in time. The question is when is it going to be managed? Because I think my opinion is we weren't really prepared for it. We didn't have enough testing kits, and I don't want to get too political, but that's just my opinion.
There's a question here from Daisy. What kind of lawyer is your husband?
I do personal injury work, so what I do is basically people are hurt. I go after the insurance company to get my clients to get reimbursed their medical bills, if they've had to lose time away from work, if they have permanent injuries that require them to make accommodations for a certain period of time. So that's what I do. We just make sure that the insurance companies understand that they have these claims pending, and that they should be reimbursed for their harms and losses, so to speak.
Amy's talking about how it's tough not to watch what's going on. Do an experiment for a day or 2 days. Don't watch the news and see how you feel. Compare that to how you have been feeling having watched the news. Again, it's not that you don't want to stay in touch with what's going on. You can do that by reading something online. But I bet you're going to see that you feel better by not watching the news, because the news today is so dramatic and the media is eating this up. They are absolutely eating this up because this is what they live for, drama. And what they're doing is, rather than helping, I believe they're doing a lot of damage by getting people so wound up about the situation. Again, it's a very serious problem, but let's try to make the best out of it rather than just getting worked up about something that we just cannot control.
I think that's what TV news makes people. TV news is tough because they're always trying to grab your attention. They're always trying to get you the most sensational story out there. And yeah, some of those stories are pretty serious, but you have to realize that the media is trying to sell ad space. And I think the best source of news is probably reading the newspaper. A lot of the newspapers don't have paywalls, so you can read them. The New York Times, Orlando Sentinel. I don't think the Orlando Sentinel has a paywall right now. USA Today doesn't have a paywall. When I say paywall, you don't have to pay to read it. I think certain other newspapers are doing the same thing. So it's not so sensationalist. It's just telling you what's being reported, in my opinion, and you're not getting the, I guess, the anxiety of watching the news. It's tough not to watch the news, but what I think we do is try to do things to break away from watching TV. I think a lot of the things we've been doing basically is just to keep our minds off the things. And if we need to look at the news, we just read the newspaper.
Kayla asked, do you think the government is hiding anything? Oh, yeah. I think the government's hiding a whole lot of stuff. Now, when it comes to this coronavirus, I don't know. Maybe, probably. But yeah, I don't think our government is open and honest at all. And that's my opinion. And I don't think we should trust the government.
Well, okay. So sometimes he and I have different approaches to things. I don't know if you can tell that there's some things that are more of a push button for him. One is the government. One is, I don't know,
how badly the poor people get treated in this country,
Yeah,
and how the rich get away with so much.
And I see that maybe I'm just a little bit more tempered in my approach because, I realize those are his issues. I have certain of my issues that I get upset about, and he tells me to calm down. So everybody's different. You have to kind of balance yourself out, I guess. I was talking to some friends today, and they're depressed, they're anxious, and I said, you need to take a break. Maybe walk around, maybe listen to some happy music, maybe call a friend that can make you laugh. Maybe you can read a book or read something that gives you pleasure. Take a break from the stress, take a break from the anxiety.
It's really all about our mindset. We have no control over a lot of things in our lives, but we do have control over one thing: how we think. And so we can choose to address this issue negatively or positively. And that may sound crazy, but we can actually approach very negative situations with a positive attitude. One of my favorite authors, Wayne Dyer, once said, change the way that you look at things, and the things you look at will change. Let me say that again. Change the way that you look at things, and the things you look at will change. So what good can you find in this situation?
People wash their hands more.
You have maybe the opportunity to do something that you don't normally have the time to do. Explore things that you've never explored. Read a book.
Yeah.
Talk to someone you've not talked to in a long time. Reconnect with the people that you live with in your house that you may not have the opportunity to do that with all the time. There can be some good that comes in this, and so um, see if that works. Change that thinking a little bit and see where it might take you.
So someone asked, what is your favorite place you've traveled to? And I think that's is it Medellin Castillo? Hopefully, I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I think we disagree with favorite places we've gone to. Like many things, we disagree, but we agree to disagree. I think one of my favorite places actually is Australia because I thought, it was easy to kind of acclimate. I thought the country was very beautiful. I thought there was a lot of things to do. Um, and I did like the different foods that they have. I also like going to Thailand. You thought it was too hot.
It's a hot place. I'm not a big fan of hot weather.
Yeah. His places would be Sweden,
Antarctica, the North Pole, and of course Scandinavia.
I don't like going to really cold places. We did like countries that most people wouldn't even think about that we agree on. We actually like Colombia. We traveled to Bogota. It's a great city. Lots of traffic though. Didn't like the traffic in Colombia.
Serious traffic problems in Colombia.
What other places have we gone to that we liked?
Vietnam. Someone mentioned Vietnam here, that they've been able to effectively control their the outbreak there. Vietnam is an awesome place to visit. Very underrated, but a lot of really neat things to see, and
Also
not extremely expensive.
Also very hot in the south. It was a little bit cool in the north. I found, because I have a plant-based vegan diet, I found that the northern part of Vietnam was very organic. I could easily eat foods that were, just from the farm and freshly prepared. In the south, everything was like fried mostly. I did have difficulty finding food in the south that was organic or plant-based without pork or chicken or fish in it. The one other place that we like is, well, you don't like the UK that much.
It's okay. I think it's overrated. I think Europe is overrated. I think you can have a much better cultural experience if you've not traveled abroad by going to a place like Vietnam or Thailand, because if you go to Europe, so many people speak English. It's so Americanized that if you could be in Dallas, you could be in LA, and you're in London, you're in Paris. It's not that it's not a great, opportunity to travel to Europe. I would just recommend, if you've not traveled before, don't immediately choose Europe. Think about other options.
I think Europe was good because, UK was good because there's lots of activities, there's lots of museums. But one thing we didn't talk about was Mexico City. I like Mexico City. When we went to Mexico City, when we told people going to Mexico City, they said, "Oh, why do you want to go there? They're going to rape you. They're going to rob you. Lots of drug dealing going on." And I'm like, okay, I guess that's, if we went down to certain parts of Orlando, that's possible too. But, Mexico City, yes, very populated, lots of issues with crime in certain areas. But I thought it was an interesting trip because we got to see a side of Mexico that we don't see. Because what we see of Mexico is what I see is like Narcos. Everything is on Netflix, everything is involving drugs, but Mexico City was an interesting place to visit. Bogota, I would think we already mentioned.
Amy asked about the language. Everywhere we travel, we've never had an issue with the language because people speak English all over the world. So it's not an issue. It's not a problem.
Hi, Amy.
Somebody, a couple of you brought up Trump. Sorry, not going there. God help us. Let's see. A couple of you have asked, how did we meet? So I'll leave that one over to Spencer.
I don't know if we agree how we met, but I was thinking about this morning. How did we actually meet? We met at the Center. The Center is a place downtown Orlando. It's on Virginia and Mills. Locals call it Vimy. So I'm not sure how it happened, but I met a friend, Steve, there. And that's the first time I saw Mark. Mark was, just picture this, someone without a beard. Um, we were very much younger. I think I was, turning 30, and you were probably 26, 27.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the coming out group. So we would sit around in a circle and talk about our experiences coming out. And then he was like kind of across from me. And so I think we kind of locked eyes for a few seconds. I could tell that he wanted to ask me something, but he didn't. And then when we wrapped up, we kind of broke up the group, and then we left. And I asked my friend, who was the gentleman who was across the area from me, and he said, "Oh, you don't want to deal with him. He works at Walmart." So, I mean, it was a lie. He didn't work at Walmart. He worked at a
Not that should matter anyhow.
Yeah, it didn't matter to me. He worked at a Baker Act facility. I don't know if you know what Baker Act facility is in Florida. If you're not from this area, there are people who are what?
People that have mental illnesses that need inpatient treatment. So it's basically an inpatient mental health hospital.
Yeah. So, I didn't see him again. I thought he was dating somebody else. And then I saw him again a few months later in April, actually. Because we initially met December 1994 at the group therapy place in Orlando. And my friend was telling me, yeah, he's not probably someone you want to talk to because he works at Walmart. It was a lie, but it is what it is. Not that it would have bothered me. But we did see a black T-shirt, and he had a big, huge cross. I don't know. I'd say a big, huge cross. It wasn't like gangster huge, but he was wearing a cross at a gay bar, basically. And it wasn't really a gay bar. It was more like a gay pool hall, social hall. I don't know. So when I saw him, I think it took me a second or two to recognize him. And I think my first words are, it's kind of brave for you to wear a cross at a gay social hall, club, whatever. And so we started talking. And then next thing you know, we kept talking. And we kept talking. And I think...
And so here we are, about 3 weeks, 25 years. That happened 25 years ago.
Yeah, that was 25 years in April of this year. So
yeah, so we've been together for 25 years.
I mean, there was ups and downs in the beginning. Nothing's perfect. I remember that he had come from a different background, and my family's very Catholic. And his family were Catholic and became, what would you call them?
Evangelical, Pentecostal.
Yeah. He went to Benny Hinn's church. I don't know if you know who Benny Hinn is, but it's the demons out type of church, laying on hands, speaking in tongues. And I was kind of like, well, that's not what I'm coming from. And why did you leave the Catholic Church? kind of thing. Actually, most of our discussions at the beginning were really about religion. I mean, why he was coming out at this point in time, coming from his background, and my feelings and thoughts about it. So, let's see, what was I gonna, and then we had our hiccups in the beginning, but eventually we knew what each other liked and didn't like, and we rarely have arguments, right?
Yeah.
We do nitpick on each other, I think. I would say nitpick is the closest thing. When I don't like something like his beard, I must mention it like, I don't know, 5 to 10 times a day. Like, oh, you still have that beard.
About that many times per day.
Yeah. Oh, you've got the beard still. How long? Oh, wow. Look, it's really gray. Look. I mean, I would just say something like that because I don't know. I can't take the beard. I can't take it.
Good morning, Gabriella. What's your favorite thing about each other? He's very compassionate, very understanding, very level-headed, a very loving person. Best thing that's ever happened to me.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yes, the time goes by and it goes by quickly. Let's see, have I missed any of these? What else?
So what's my favorite thing about Mark? I think he's very compassionate. He has a lot of empathy for people. He loves animals.
You all are killing me.
Why?
Kayla says, you all are killing me.
Oh. So someone brought up, how did we guys meet?
Marissa talks about the mindset of positivity and health. I think there's a lot to that.
It's tough because you have to practice it. I mean, it is really, really tough. I mean, we say that we try to be positive, but there are times when it's tough. I mean, it's pretty normal. And I don't know, for some people, you have to find a coping mechanism when you feel anxious or stressed. For me, sometimes I clean, sometimes I just, walk around. The theme parks are closed. So the good thing about being close to theme parks here in Orlando is if we wanted to go to the theme parks, we would go there. It forces us to walk. It forces us to be out in the sun, outdoors. It forces us to do things that get us out of the house, so we don't stay there in kind of this bubble that we place ourselves in. It's hard to say that because sometimes you worked in the clinical field. Depression is partly chemical, it's partly environmental, and it's a combination of how your family has dealt with you. There's lots of issues. So one thing that works for me won't necessarily work for him or other people. So it's tough. You've got to figure out the best way to do it, and seek a counselor if it doesn't get better. I think it's really tough these days, especially because every moment in time you turn on the news, you read a newspaper, something's depressing. I find it hard to sometimes watch the news, so I will watch something extremely stupid. Like you'll come in and see something I'm watching. I'm like, oh, how did you find this ridiculous mess? I mean, I think for a while I was watching this Chinese. It was on Netflix. Is it called The Tamed or Untamed? It was like a series of episodes, and I didn't realize that it was like 100 episodes. I'm exaggerating, but it was a lot of episodes. And he would come in and say, "What are you watching?" I'm watching this Chinese, basically soap opera, where everybody has magic and there's fighting among clans. And he would just look at me like, "What the heck are you watching?" And it's on subtitles. But I would watch that. What he watches is NASA stuff, which I find really nice, but I can only watch it for 5 minutes because everyone likes to talk like this. And we are now going to be moving to this moment here to watch this space entity become something else. And look at my hair, it's floating in space. Oh.
All right, moving on. Let's see. I'm hoping I haven't overlooked any questions. If I have overlooked anything, can you retype it in the chat box for me? And who else? Who else has some questions for us? Anything that you'd like to know? Yes. So, Amy, I'm going to be doing, in our analysis at the very end of today's event, I'm going to be doing a YouTube Live NASA event on Wednesday, April the 8th at 10:30. It's going to be called NASA From Earth to Mars and Beyond. I promised my students that I would be doing a NASA event in class. And of course, since we don't have on-campus classes anymore, those were canceled, but I decided to decided I'd do one online. So again, that's going to be on Wednesday, April 8th at 10:30 here on my YouTube channel.
You're going to do an SSA event?
Yes, a solar system. I'm a solar system ambassador, which is a fancy way for saying I'm a volunteer. I'm very passionate about NASA and JPL and the space program. So I go out in the community and I do presentations about what NASA's up to. I get training online, and it's really fascinating.
You get stickers?
I get stickers that I can't give to you because we're online. But if you like NASA, then you might want to participate in that. Rate the Disney movies you've watched from worst to best. Well,
the classic ones?
The classic ones are pretty bad. The anything to do with the princesses, not a fan. Not a fan.
Why? Why?
Because I don't know. I guess they're just boring.
But I thought maybe because you don't like the whole idea of women being rescued by men.
Yeah, I think that's a part of it.
and it kind of makes.
There's a lot of sexism that's built in those movies.
Yeah, he didn't like. What didn't you like about Peter Pan? You thought it was anti-Indian.
Yes.
It was kind of racist.
There's enough hate in the world, and we don't need to see movies that perpetuate stereotypes and prejudice and discrimination. But the movies I like the best, the Disney movies I like the best, are like the Pixar movies, the Toy Story series, Up. If you haven't seen Up, it's an awesome, awesome
You like
movie.
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. Those are all awesome. They have deep messages that really can speak to us and that speak to me.
No, you didn't like Disney's The Wild. We watched that the first time the other day.
Yeah, that was all right. Do you like living in Orlando?
Yeah, I like living in Orlando. Would I prefer somewhere else? We thought about, we've talked about selling the house and when we retire and moving in, I don't know, a Latin American country to make sure our retirement money goes further.
Si habla español.
He's taking Spanish classes, so he's trying to do that. He's trying to become more fluent in Spanish. And if you are speaking Spanish in his class, speak Spanish to him. So let him practice. We thought maybe Panama was a place to move to. We're looking at every country when we go visit. Just say, well, we ask ourselves before we leave the country, would we want to live here for 4 to 6 months at a time and live back home in the U.S.? Only because we think that's one way to live, and it gets us out of our comfort zone, and it makes us experience life, and it makes us more compassionate, I think, because we see some of the happiest people we saw, I thought, were in India. In India, I would not go and live there. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but I would not live in India.
It's tough.
If you paid me, it's a tough place to live. Nepal was not too far behind it. I mean, there's some beautiful landscapes in India and Nepal, but they have a system in India, which the caste system, which I think keeps people oppressed. If you're born into a certain caste, you're kind of set in that caste. They say officially they've done with the caste system, but unofficial people still go by the caste system. They want to know, who's Mark? What family is he from? And they're secretly trying to find out what class he's in, because they don't want to marry your daughter or your son to someone in a different caste. They want to keep it in the caste or higher if they can.
For those of you in my introductory sociology classes online, we've actually talked about this in class, how powerful the caste system is and how strict it is and how there's no movement. And it's really sad to see that people, regardless of what they want to do, they can't move up because of this very rigid system that it's tough to see. There's a lot of poverty in the world.
Yeah, and they're very, very warm, very helpful, very passionate about showing you their country. It's just, I think if there's a country that should do a do-over, maybe it's India.
Got a question here about Iceland. Have we ever been? Yes, we went to Iceland quite a number of years ago.
Very tall people.
Very tall, awesome place. We did go to the Blue Lagoon. That's another question up there.
I did put some blue algae on his face. He didn't appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's pictures of it. Do you have pictures of it on your website?
I don't think I have pictures of that on my website. I do have pictures of Iceland on the website, but not of...
Yeah, I wouldn't mind living in Iceland. I couldn't live in Iceland. It's too cold for me.
Yeah.
Somewhere semi-tropical, but not too hot.
Amy asked, do I watch all the launches? I try to. There's actually a launch today at about 10 minutes to 3, and I've got it on my calendar, and I'm going to step outside, and if it goes off, we get to see the launches right here from the house. I love to go to the Cape if all possible and get to see them there. And if you've never seen a rocket launch, there's nothing like it. It's incredible.
We're lucky we have a friend who works as a contractor for NASA. She's an engineer. She actually was, I think, enlisted in the Navy, got her GI Bill, became an engineer, and works for NASA, a NASA subcontractor now. So once in a while when she has, I guess, what do they call them? What kind of passes?
Like car passes.
Car passes, she'll invite us. We do like the night events because it's pretty nice to see it lift off. But I think his choice is to watch a day event because you can actually see.
You can see the rocket rather than a big ball of light going up in the sky.
Yeah, I mean, big ball of light's pretty interesting, but yeah, I get what he's saying.
family moved to Chile. Chile is an awesome, awesome place. I would say that's probably one of my favorite South American countries. It's very developed, one of the most, one of the safest governments.
Yeah,
Has the in the northern part of Chile, there's the Atacama Desert, which is very dry. Not a lot of people living there, so there's very clear sky. So for people that are in astronomy, you can go out at nighttime and just see a very, very
you
clear
can actually
sky
see
with
the parts of
lots
the
of
Milky Way
stars. Yeah.
with your naked eyes, and that's the cool thing about Chile. I like Santiago.
Nice city.
Santiago is a nice city. Kind of reminds me of LA. There's some smog. The
Mhm.
traffic's not too bad.
Nice people,
I like
good
Peru
place.
too.
Peru's good.
Peru's nice.
We've been to California. We've been several times.
My
We've
brother
been
lives
to
there.
San Diego, LA, San Francisco. Yeah, it's a great place. If you've not been, that's a good place to go in the
I
US.
went to fifth grade in San Diego.
Yeah, he lived in San
This is
Diego.
my parents. My dad was in the Navy.
All right. What other questions do you have? Any other personal questions? Like,
What you asking the professional
well, I don't
questions?
mean personal, but um, you know,
No, you don't want to do that. They were having, I think, the beginning of the problems that they have now. Unemployment, riots. I think
yeah,
he still wants to go to Venezuela because you want to go to Angel Falls, right?
yes, right. Quite a few of my students are from Angel Falls. I'm sorry, not from Angel Falls,
But
from
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 Venezuela,
Venezuela. So, yeah, I'd like to go.
the congested. But I like Ponce.
Mm,
I like visiting Arecibo, where the big telescope
radio
is.
telescope. Yep.
I like going out of the big cities because I think you get to actually experience the countryside, the people, the fresh food better.
Yeah.
If you can travel, just stay out of. If you can stay out of the big cities, that's the best way to do it, my opinion. I like New York City. He hates New York City.
Too many people, too much congestion, too much noise. It's great to visit. Would never want to live in a place like that. It's too much. Our next out of country trip is scheduled to Ecuador.
I don't think we're going. We're not going to go.
Hoping that it's not going to get canceled, but
It's going.
it's going. We're going to go. We're
It's
going to
going to
go.
go.
That's going to be really exciting. Aileen, I don't know if Aileen is watching. She's in my social problems class. She is. Her family is from Ecuador, and I've talked a lot to her about our trip. So
Your storm
keep.
chasing got canceled.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. So, Aileen, keep your fingers crossed. Want to go to Ecuador in the next couple months.
2021.
Yeah, my storm chasing trip got canceled, which is in May. So I have to do that next year. Well, all right. So I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat box here. And so, unless anyone has anything that you would like to ask, I think that we will wrap this up.
So just remember, be positive. It's tough. Try not to watch too much of the news. If you have to catch the news, my opinion, my suggestion is to read it online with a reputable news source that doesn't have a paywall. Walk, take breaks, listen to some happy music, do something that you like to do for fun. Read a book that makes you happy. Go back to a book that you loved. Some of the weird things I used to do when I would get really down is I'd read old books that I liked. I mean, like I'm talking about I don't know, when I was a kid, like my teens and early 20s, I would probably read like Hardy Boys or something like that. I've read the book maybe like 100 times, but it was like a comfort book. There's so many books I read. Some books I love to read, but some books I won't read because there's too much anxiety or depression for me. Watch happy things. Watch things that make you escape. Think positive. I know it's tough because there's lots of things going on and we have no control over it, right?
yes, I'm seeing in the chat box, I'm getting a message, unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. So I'm not sure. Maybe people have more questions, but for some reason the chat feature is not working at the moment. Sorry about that.
It says, can you see this?
Yeah, I just typed in, can you see this? So can you see what I just typed? If you can someone type yes? Yeah, I think that, I don't know why.
I guess you were going to say, stay positive.
Yeah, stay positive. Try to find the good in this. It's going to come to an end eventually one day. For my students that are watching, please don't give up. Stay focused on the big picture, continue with your studies. Um, you will regret big time if you allow something like this to stop you from progressing thread frequently. So if you have questions or concerns, you can always email me, but don't give up. Don't give up. Stay focused on the big picture. And the big picture is take this opportunity to move forward and to grow. Don't get depressed. Don't get down. It's not going to do any
And
good.
reach out to other people. Call a friend you haven't talked to in a while. Call a family member you haven't talked in a while. Do something productive rather than sitting down, rather
Keep your
than thinking
mind
about,
keep your mind occupied on
yeah,
good things, on positive things.
I've
So,
mopped the floor. He's mopped the floor. I think this is
not
probably
so
one of the
exciting, but
probably one of the cleanest times
this
this
house
house
has
has
ever
been.
been.
So just try to be positive if you can, and reach out to people who are positive. But I'm sorry the chat's not working. I would love to have seen more questions if you were asking more questions. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but subscribe.
Yep. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff that that you need to do. All right. Thank you. I'm going to make a couple announcements and then call it
Oh,
a day.
school announcements.
Yes.
Okay.
Or not school, but all right. So thanks to my husband Spencer for coming. Just a couple of parting words. Like I said, please keep up. Don't let this get you down. Do the work. I think everyone knows that there is one or more quizzes due by Monday. I'm sorry, Sunday for former on-campus classes, and for my online classes, quizzes are always due by Monday evening. So make sure that you're not missing quizzes, participating in the discussion forum as you should be. If you like this YouTube live stuff, I will continue to put some together. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about maybe doing one on my travels. And this will especially be geared for my students in social problems because I told them that I would take a class period to do that. And of course, we don't have class. So I'm going to gear it towards you, but anyone can attend if you'd like to see even more pictures and stories I told in class if you were in one of my introductory sociology classes. All right, so my next YouTube live event will be coming up Wednesday, April the 1st, April Fool's Day. We're covering religion next week in my campus classes. So I'm going to be online next Wednesday, April 1st at 10:30 a.m. to do an event. And this is going to be an opportunity. Hopefully the live chat will be working properly for for us to have a conversation about religion. I try to separate my personal religious beliefs from a lecture, and I'm going to be preparing the official lecture on religion and sending out that email to my campus classes probably by Sunday or Monday. But this is going to be very informal so that we can kind of talk about religion and kind of be, let's say, off the record. So if you're interested in talking about religion, that's going to be Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, April 1st at 10:30. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to do a YouTube live event on Wednesday, April the 1st. I'm sorry, Wednesday, April 8th at 10:30 a.m. And that's going to be my NASA event. It's entitled NASA From Earth to Mars and Beyond. And if all goes well, I'm going to have a presentation where instead of you looking at me, you're going to be able to see my computer screen. I'm going to go through and show you all kinds of really cool things that you might not know about NASA and what's going on. So again, I apologize that it seems that the live chat froze up. And so if we didn't get to your questions, sorry. Maybe we can get to them at some future point. Thanks for coming and attending today. Thank you so much. Be safe and be positive. All right. See you all later. Take care.